What's up, guys? Today, Trevor and I want to show you 6 shoulder exercises that have helped us work through pretty significant injuries. Trevor's had many dislocations, I have a torn labrum, but we've both been able to train at a pretty high level despite these. These do require a bit of equipment, and it's not technically a follow-along, but you can still do it with us live.
Most people who have dealt with shoulder injuries have been told to do something like this for the rotator cuff.
I've done so many of these in my day.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like it leaves a little bit on the table. So what we really like is doing this motion, like a face pull or Cuban rotation, where you're pulling back, getting the rotator cuff to turn on, but then you're also integrating that in with shoulder blade movement.
Okay, so what are you thinking here in the shoulder blades while you do this?
So I'm thinking about keeping the shoulders wide in protraction.
Okay, well that's kind of unique. A lot of people would pull their shoulder blades together like that, right? So you're staying wide here.
Wide, yeah, and then what that does is it turns on those mid and low traps.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're
So as you move into external rotation here, then all these muscles turn on.
exactly.
And we, of course, we get the rotator cuff in there as well.
Yep, so you're kind of gonna double dip there.
I mean, that seems significantly better than doing something like this. Not that this is bad, you can start with this, but getting to here seems like a good way to go through that.
Yes. And then the reverse of that, pulling inwards, internal rotation.
Okay.
Same thing. I prefer to do almost like the same motion we were just doing with that Cuban,
Let's check
but
it out.
you lie on the ground, take some dumbbells, same shape, elbows to the side, but now we're lowering down and then lifting back up. And this is going to work that internal rotation, but it also opens up the pec minor. Same idea. It starts to move your scap along with the rotator cuff. And there's even potential for some thoracic mobility here. You can get up off the ground a little bit, and then you can really open up the thoracic spine and pecs.
Wow, this is like double dip in here, and a lot of people don't think about the internal rotators quite as much as we're doing a bunch of external rotators, but they're probably equally important. And what I see here is this controlled lowering, stretching the muscle, so you're getting stronger through that stretch position.
Huge stretch in my pec and pec minor here. Yeah,
I love that. With my early shoulder injuries, I've always just had so much lack of awareness in my shoulder blades. They wing, they come off the rib cage. So for me, doing really basic scapula articulation drills has been like phenomenal. It's just helped me so much. So this is the drill that I like to do. It's so simple, anybody could do it. We bend forward at the hips a little bit here, and now my arms essentially act as weights here, right? And we can also add in some weights later on. And what I'm trying to do is move my shoulder blades through all the motion that they can. So naturally I start protracted because my arms kind of drag me down.
Yep.
I then like to elevate my shoulders. What does that feel like to elevate and feel kind of like the upper traps pull? And then I retract, right? I retract in this elevated state. So now it's like my upper traps are really working to pull my shoulder blades together, right? And then we hit that depression. And this is the one that we probably all need the most of, trying to feel those mid and lower traps pull my shoulder blades together. And then we kind of let that go back into protraction, but not just like this. It's like I'm feeling myself push my shoulder blades to the sides of my rib cage, and I feel that serratus anterior turn on essentially.
I mean, what I love about this is it gives you the opportunity to separate how your shoulder blades are moving from how your rib cage, because a lot of people do this standing, but then you'll see them like when they go to retract, all of a sudden their ribs lift up and all that. So this kind of forces you into a fixed position.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's essentially, I've had issues with retraction, like just moving my spine to retract. A lot of people do this, and I think it like lifting your rib cage, this creates so much shoulder issues. You know, you just have your shoulder blades aren't gliding on your rib cage as much. It leaks into the actual shoulder joint. So you're right, just like boom, I lock down my rib cage here. And let me just show with holding some little weights here. You don't even need too much. These are like 2 pounds. And we get that protraction, elevate. I work on retracting without doing this, right? Keeping my rib cage fixed. And then that lower one, I usually spend a little bit more time there. And I should say, I'll move through these and hold for maybe 3 seconds in each position, maybe even a little bit longer.
Well, and it's crazy because I mean, it looks so simple, but even when you're there, when you especially hit that down and back position, I mean, I see you shaking.
Exactly.
It's not easy.
Right. To hold this, like I'm turning on a lot of muscles, little stabilizer muscles that I feel like I'm still improving on to this day.
Yeah.
That's with 2 pounds. Imagine you work up to using 10 pounds, 20 pounds in each hand. So it can just scale, and this can just act as like a nice warm up for other training.
Yeah. I love how you keyed in on the rib cage there, because one thing I've noticed with working with so many people with shoulder problems is once you start dealing with them and you start like your shoulder doesn't want to go into this overhead position, you'll find a way to reach overhead, but it comes from the rib cage coming up.
Yeah.
And I look at old videos of myself. Every time I put my arms overhead, I'm like completely like this because I can't open my shoulders. So I actually got this exercise from watching Olympic weightlifters in the Olympics warm up. So it's a snatch grip Jefferson curl. So you might have seen a Jefferson curl before where you roll the spine down, but going in the snatch grip starts to work on opening the pecs and patterning the scapular movement as you go overhead.
Okay, yeah.
So let's go ahead. I'm gonna have you demo this one.
A lot of this is about actually like getting your back wide, right?
Exactly.
Which is a lot of shoulder rehab is about like cranking retraction, but this is a bit more like unique.
Like we just said before, when people try to retract, they lift their rib cage. So we want to teach how to depress the rib cage to open.
Yeah.
So that's a little wide. I would go a little narrower than that.
Okay.
And then go ahead and do Jefferson curl. And so what this does is pause there. See how he's intentionally rounding the whole back here? He's pulling the rib cage in from the front. So you're actually like manually pulling your ribs in.
Yeah.
And then go deeper. As you start to go overhead, I'm sure you're starting to feel a little bit of stretch in like pec minor and and you feel the shoulder blades go into what we call upward rotation, which is the natural path for the shoulder blades to move when they go overhead. Right? You can come on up.
I also feel my lats on just such a big stretch there.
Yes.
Which is what should naturally happen when you get that overhead position and upward rotation.
Exactly. So just to emphasize what we're doing, we're trying to pull the rib cage in, make the shoulder blades really wide here. And then even an added benefit here is if you untuck the chin, start to even potentially look forward, now you're even gonna get a little bit of thoracic extension here, which is unique. If you are constantly putting your rib cage up, you'll never be able to extend the thoracic. So when you're in this position fixed, you can start to work on thoracic extension there.
Not to mention a little bit of hamstring stretching probably won't hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
One muscle group that I never trained before this last year is my posterior delt. Now, I do a lot of rowing and pull-ups, and I thought that was enough, but I found that actually isolating this muscle, getting this muscle turned on and strong, I mean, it completes the shoulder joint, right? It literally kind of anchors the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I've just found it to be so effective. And I got to shout out my guy, Zach from Core XL, who taught me this exercise. And he kind of pointed out to me that I was lacking some muscle in my rear delt. So if you get on a bench at around like a 45-degree angle here, and you let your arm come in this position, right? So this actually is like stretching my rear delt. So I'm in a lengthened position here. And then all we do, just making sure that shoulder is down and not up, is we lift to the side here. Now, you can go all the way up, but I find that the juice here in this exercise is actually this bottom part where it's lengthened, getting it turned on, and then picking that up. And we're right here. We're just like trying to strengthen that. I'm still fairly weak here. I mean, this is a 5-pound weight. I go up to like 7 pounds. Do you want to try this? Because you haven't done much of these.
No, you showed me these once before and I sucked at them.
So yes, we're here, we're finding that good stretch, and then we're kind of just really trying to tag on to this muscle right here. And you're also going to get some good external rotators stabilizing this motion as well. Oh yeah, I see you shaky. Just 5 pounds here, right? Just a few reps.
Oh, I can feel that. Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll work up to like maybe 15 reps or so, just to the point where I'm like failing that muscle. And I just do 1 set of these. I take it to failure, and like it's becoming so much stronger with a low amount of volume.
Dude, there's a big area of opportunity for me. I can feel how weak I am there.
Yeah.
Even from all the other like rehab and strength training I do.
And probably compared to like the front of your delt, where, you know, you've done so much push-ups and everything that we do in daily life is in front of us. So this front delt's always working, but how much are we moving our arms behind us? And for this, you're taking that trajectory of moving it behind you and getting into there. So we went through more of these slow and controlled like gym rehab movements. These last two, let's get into some movement integration. So I used to see people swinging these maces around and I thought that's silly until I met up with Nsima this year and he taught me a few things with the clubs. I had one of these at my house and I just started doing it like almost every single day. I would do this behind the back swing, just like this. And at first it's like, okay, like what's working here? There's no like hypertrophy going on. But then I started to realize, oh my gosh, when I control this thing down here, this is like ultimate rotator cuff integration here, right? And then I come around this other side and I'm pulling like this like weird internal rotation is pulling me into external rotation. I'm fighting that, I'm bringing it up. And you can do it more slow to like really focus on the rotator cuffs, or with like a heavier one, you start kind of getting a bit more just like fluid movement with it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We'll also turn to the side really quick and go to that very back position. This is a stretch that we do all the time. It's the butcher block stretch,
right, where
it opens up both lats and thoracic spine at the same time, but you're moving through that position, creating it more like functional.
And that's exactly right. And when I first started doing these, I was doing this. I was arching my back a bunch, right? But then you start to feel, oh my gosh, I turn my core on, my serratus is working, like my core is keeping my rib cage engaged, and then my shoulders work better, right? And I get more out of this. So I want to have you, because I know that you haven't done a whole lot of this, but this is kind of unique to me. I like to, when I go over this shoulder, I'm only kind of supporting just a little bit here, right? Yeah. So then this does all the work, and then when I come out of it, same thing, I'm making this arm do all the work. I think that's where the shoulder prehab really gets effective.
Ooh, I feel that.
You feel that?
Oh yeah. And then it's mostly
and then you're
this
working
arm.
on that. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Isn't that nice?
Dude, I feel my serratus so much right now.
Right.
Holy.
Because that's another thing. The mace is pulling you back, but you gotta pull yourself forward to resist what's behind you.
Dude, and obliques too. I mean, I just caught myself when I was here. I was like doing something like this, but it, like resisting that natural kind of like rotation there.
Right.
Turns on the whole entire core, not just kind of like the rectus.
This is functional core strength as well. You know? So I want to be clear. There's a lot of different ways to swing a mace. This isn't the way to do it, but this is specific to me working on rotator cuff and shoulder prehab. So this is super easy. You can grab one of these on Amazon. This is 10 pounds. I think that this is 10 pounds.
That was really hard.
I think 10 pounds is perfect. And I'm gonna make a full video on this. I have some footage with Nsima of him teaching me and whatnot, and then kind of show you guys my results. Let's move to Indian clubs.
Well, it's funny because I also did the same thing with these clubs. When I first started, I was like, oh, 5-10 pounds, that sounds great. But these are 2-pounders, and honestly, these are perfect.
Dang.
So you don't need much.
No.
Here, take one of these.
Okay.
So the difference between the mace and the club for me is the club is less about feeling like a really strong contraction. It's actually more about finding this like really comfortable, almost like dexterous way of moving, where we're not thinking so much about what muscles are turning on. It's actually like regaining some confidence. If you've dealt with injuries,
you told me that specifically to injuries. When you injure your shoulder, you're protecting it, even subconsciously.
Yep.
So learning how to like not be fear-based around your movement, that's big.
Yep. And what that means though is if you're gonna start these, you start really light and you start really slow. Don't take it into huge range of motions and just start to gain some confidence, and then you can start opening, getting really open. So let's actually show what we're gonna do. Okay. So we'll take the Indian club. We'll start in this position here, where it's almost like you're trying to keep it across your chest or your collarbones. And then we move into that back position, like we just did with the mace, where it's like open shoulder, rib cage down. And then you're gonna do an outside throw. So you just throw it to the side and then follow that natural swing all the way back up to where we started here. And then move out, throw, and back up. And then eventually you smooth that out into one kind of natural organic motion where I'm catching this swing and throwing it. Catch the swing, throw it away. Catch the swing. And as I was saying, when you first start, you're gonna start with these smaller circles, but then as you get more confident with your shoulder, you can really start to open up that swing and almost hit this overhead throw where I'm hitting that overhead position here. And you'll feel your whole thoracic spine start to open up there.
So this is kind of a reverse throwing pattern right here.
Yes.
Almost, because throwing is
throwing.
like this and we're going
Throwing away,
right? But I think like throwing is such a functional activity for human beings. We should all be able to throw. Yet some of us, when we play baseball when we're young, like you accumulate so much stress onto your shoulder. But I think what you're showing right here is this really kind of safe and contained way to get like these throwing reps. And even with the reverse throw, it's like you're working the opposite side muscles to do that. You're opening the chest. And of course, you could also do the other pattern of throwing it as well.
Yep.
But maybe you're finding this a little bit more advantageous for like the average person.
This is the main one that I've done over the years, but yeah, I mean, this is a deep practice. People do all kinds of crazy cool stuff with them. So I am gonna make a more in-depth video about how to use the clubs soon. So check it out.
We've both worked so much on our shoulders. I think I remember you used to work on your shoulder every morning for like a whole year, right?
Yep.
So there's tons of other shoulder exercises that we've tried that aren't on this list. The ones that made it on this list are the ones that have been valuable for us to keep doing. Now, it doesn't mean to do all of these. It means to experiment with them. If there's something that's kind of appealing that sounds like, oh, maybe that's a weakness that I have that I could work on, dig into it, you know, put some time doing it and see the results that it has on your shoulder.